The human approached the UES horizon, glided through the void between stars, its sleek hull reflecting the distant light of a dying red giant. Unlike the massive battleships of other species, the Horizon was built for a different purpose. Its hull was smooth and unadorned, lacking the weapon arrays and armor plating that characterized military vessels. Instead, it bristled with sensor arrays, communication dishes, and scientific equipment. Captain Marcus Reed stood on the bridge, watching the star field shift as they approached the coordinates where the Titan swarm was last detected. At 41, he was younger than most ship commanders, but his expertise in first contact protocols had made him the natural choice for this mission. His brown eyes held the steady confidence of someone who had spent years preparing for this moment. Captain, called Dr. Elena Vasquez from the science station, we're approaching the outer detection range. No sign of the swarm yet, but there's something interesting on the long-range sensors. Dr. Vasquez was the ship's chief xenobiologist, a woman whose passion for understanding alien life had driven her to master 12 different alien languages and 3 forms of telepathic communication. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical bun, and her fingers moved quickly over her console. "What are you seeing, Elena?" Reed asked, moving to stand behind her station. "Energy patterns that don't match any known ship configurations," she replied, highlighting sections of the display. "But they're not random. There's a rhythm to them, almost like a heartbeat." Chief Engineer Tom Bradley looked up from his console, his weathered face creased with concern. "Captain, if these readings are accurate, we're looking at energy outputs that dwarf anything in the Federation database. Whatever's out there, it's massive." Bradley had served on 15 different ships during his 30-year career, and he had never seen anything like the readings scrolling across his screens. The man who could jury-rig a faster-than-light drive from spare parts was looking genuinely nervous. "Aria," Captain Reed called to the ship's artificial intelligence system, "what's your analysis of the energy patterns?" The AI's voice responded immediately, synthesized but somehow warm and almost human. "Based on the rhythmic nature of the energy emissions and their distribution patterns, I calculate a 73% probability that we are observing biological functions rather than mechanical systems." Reed nodded thoughtfully. "Aria was humanity's most advanced AI, designed not just for tactical analysis, but for creative problem-solving. The system had been trained on centuries of human diplomatic history, from ancient peace negotiations to modern first contact protocols. Biological, Reed mused. That would fit with Dr. Vasquez's observations about their behavior patterns. Communications Officer Lisa Park suddenly straightened at her station. "Captain, I'm picking up something. It's faint, but there's definitely a structured signal coming from the direction of the swarm." Park was barely 25, but she had graduated top of her class from the Academy's Xenocommunications program. Her specialty was pattern recognition in alien languages, and she had an almost supernatural ability to detect order in apparent chaos. "Can you decode it?" Reed asked. "Working on it," Park replied, her fingers flying over her controls. "It's not like any language in our databases, but there's definitely structure. Mathematical progressions, harmonic relationships. It's almost like music." The bridge fell silent except for the soft hum of the ship's systems. Every crew member understood the significance of what they were hearing. If the Titan swarm was communicating, it changed everything. "Captain," Dr. Vasquez said quietly, "request permission to begin active scanning. If these are biological entities, I might be able to determine their physiological state." Reed considered for a moment. Active scanning could be interpreted as a hostile act, but they needed more information. Approved, but keep it subtle. We don't want to provoke them. As the horizon's sensors began their detailed sweep, the picture that emerged was unlike anything the Federation had imagined. The Titan swarm was not a fleet of ships, but a collection of living creatures, each one the size of a small asteroid. They moved through space in complex patterns, their bodies generating the energy signatures that had been detected. "My God," whispered Dr. Vasquez. "They're not invaders. They're migrating." The implications hit the bridge crew like a physical blow. The Titan swarm was not a military force, but a group of space-dwelling creatures traveling through the galaxy. The destruction of colonies had been incidental to their passage, not their goal. "Arya," Reed said urgently, "reanalyze all reports of Titan swarm encounters with this new information." The AI's response came within seconds. Reanalysis complete. All observed behaviors are consistent with creatures seeking specific resources for survival. The pattern of colony attacks correlates with locations containing rare minerals essential for biological processes. "They're not conquering," Park said, her voice filled with wonder. "They're foraging." Chief Bradley shook his head in amazement. "So the entire galaxy has been preparing for war against what? Space whales?" "Not whales," Dr. Vasquez corrected, studying her readings. "Something far more complex. These creatures show signs of advanced intelligence. The energy patterns suggest sophisticated nervous systems, possibly even collective consciousness." Reed moved to the center of the bridge, his mind racing through the implications. If they're intelligent, we can communicate with them. If they're just trying to survive, we can find a solution that doesn't involve destroying them. "Captain," Park called out, "the signal patterns are getting stronger. I think they've detected us." The main screen flickered and then resolved into an image that took everyone's breath away. The Titan swarm was revealed in all its alien majesty, creatures of impossible size and beauty drifting through the void like living constellations. Their bodies were translucent, filled with swirling patterns of light that pulsed in complex rhythms. "They're beautiful," Dr. Vasquez whispered. "And they're coming this way," Bradley added, his engineer's pragmatism cutting through the wonder. Reed straightened, knowing that the next few minutes would determine the fate of both species. "Lisa, open a channel on all frequencies. Let's see if we can say hello." Park's hands moved over her controls, and then she nodded. "Channel open, Captain." Reed looked at the image of the approaching creatures and spoke clearly into the communication system. "This is Captain Marcus Reed of the United Earthship Horizon. We come in peace and wish to communicate." The response was immediate and overwhelming. The creature's song filled the bridge, a complex harmony of tones that seemed to resonate in the crew's bones. But beneath the alien music, there was something unmistakably familiar, something that spoke to the deepest part of human understanding. "Arya," Reed said, "are you getting this?" "Yes, Captain. The signal contains mathematical constants and harmonic progressions that appear to be universal. They are attempting to establish a common language." Park was working frantically at her station, her training kicking in as she tried to decode the alien message. "Captain, I'm picking up emotional content in the signal. These creatures are... they're afraid." The realization hit the bridge crew like a cold wave. These magnificent beings, powerful enough to destroy planets, were afraid. What could possibly frighten creatures of such immense power? "Dr. Vasquez," Reed said, "what could make them afraid?" She studied her readings, her face pale. "Captain, I'm detecting stress hormones in their energy patterns. These creatures are fleeing from something. This isn't migration, it's evacuation. The implications were staggering. If the Titan swarm was running from something, what did that say about the threat they faced? And more importantly, was that threat heading toward the galaxy? "Arya," Reed said quietly, "assuming these creatures are refugees, what would be the logical course of action?" The AI's response was immediate. "Offer assistance and shelter while gathering intelligence about the threat they are fleeing from." Reed nodded, his decision made. "Lisa, modify our message. Tell them we want to help." As Park worked to encode the message into the mathematical language the creatures were using, Reed looked around at his crew. They were all young, all dedicated to the idea that understanding was better than fighting. In a few minutes, they would either prove the philosophy correct or die trying. "Message ready, Captain," Park announced. "Send it," Reed ordered. The message pulsed out from the horizon, carrying humanity's offer of friendship into the void. The response came quickly, and as the translation scrolled across the screens, the crew realized they had just opened a door that would change the galaxy forever. The Titan swarm had a story to tell, and it was more terrifying than any war. The unexpected response, the Great Assembly Hall of the Galactic Federation, stretched across 17 kilometers of polished crystal and flowing energy. Representatives from 437 different species gathered in their designated sections, their various forms of communication creating a symphony of clicks, whistles, telepathic waves, and harmonic vibrations. The air itself seemed to shimmer with the tension of impending crisis. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the human delegation's modest platform. Her uniform, a simple navy blue that contrasted sharply with the elaborate ceremonial garments worn by other species. At 53, she had served humanity for 30 years, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. Her grey eyes remained calm as she observed the chaos around her. The emergency session had been called by the Valdris Collective, a species of tall, crystalline beings who served as the Federation's military coordinators. Their leader, Commander Sixtol, stood at the center of the assembly, his translucent body pulsing with urgent amber light. "Fellow members of the Federation," Sixtol's voice resonated through the hall's translation matrix. "We face our greatest threat in 10,000 years. The Titan swarm has breached the Outer Rim territories. 17 colonies have already fallen silent. Our long-range sensors detect a force of unprecedented size approaching the core worlds." A holographic display materialized above the assembly, showing a dark mass moving through space like a living shadow. The image made even the most warlike species shift uncomfortably in their seats. Ambassador Krelvo of the Therian Empire, a massive creature with 6 arms and chitinous armor, rose from his section. "The Therian fleet stands ready. We have mobilized 8,000 battleships and 40,000 support vessels. Our warriors are prepared to die for the Federation." Approving sounds echoed through the hall as other species began declaring their military contributions. The Aquarian Depths announced their submarine fleet of 6,000 vessels. The Crystalline Hierarchy promised their energy-based destroyers. Even the peaceful Botanical Collective offered their defensive networks. The numbers were staggering. Within minutes, the Federation had assembled a combined force of over 200,000 ships, representing the largest military mobilization in galactic history. The mood in the hall shifted from fear to confidence. Surely, no force could withstand such overwhelming power. Ambassador Krelvo's compound eyes fixed on the human section. "And what of humanity? How many ships do you contribute to our righteous cause?" The hall fell silent. Every species knew that humanity, despite being one of the newer members of the Federation, had earned respect through their innovative thinking and determined spirit. Their military technology was not the most advanced, but their tactical creativity had surprised everyone in previous conflicts. Admiral Chen stood slowly, her movement deliberate and confident. She activated her communication device, and her voice carried clearly through the translation matrix. The United Earth Space Command is proud to contribute to the Federation's defense. She began, her tone steady and professional. We are sending our finest vessel, the UES Horizon, with a crew of 300 of our best and brightest. The silence stretched for several heartbeats. Then Ambassador Krelvo's voice crackled with disbelief. 300? You mean 300 ships? No, Admiral Chen replied calmly. 300 crew members, one ship. The hall erupted in chaos. Angry clicks, outraged telepathic bursts, and harmonic discord filled the air. Some species laughed, others expressed deep offense, and a few sat in stunned silence. Commander Zixtile's crystalline form flashed red with agitation. Admiral Chen, surely you misunderstand the scale of this threat. We are facing annihilation. This is not a time for symbolic gestures. I understand perfectly, Chen replied, her voice cutting through the noise. We are sending exactly what we believe is needed. The Draconic Confederation's representative, a massive serpentine creature, with golden scales, reared up from his section. Insult, he hissed. Does humanity mock our desperation? Do you think so little of our struggle? Similar accusations flew from across the hall. The ethereal collective questioned humanity's commitment to the Federation. The hive mind suggested that humans were cowards hiding behind others' sacrifice. The mechanical synthesis calculated that humanity's contribution was statistically insignificant. Admiral Chen waited for the storm to subside, her expression unchanged. When the hall finally quieted, she spoke again. I understand your concerns, and I respect your courage in mobilizing such massive forces. But humanity has studied this threat extensively. We believe there is more to the Titan swarm than meets the eye. What could you possibly know that our combined intelligence networks do not? Challenged the Psychic Dominion's representative. A being of pure mental energy. Perhaps nothing, Chen admitted. But we have learned that sometimes the most important questions are the ones no one thinks to ask. The Valdris commander's light pulsed with frustration. What questions? What mystery do you claim to see? Chen activated her personal holographic display, showing detailed sensor readings and analysis charts. In every recorded encounter with the Titan swarm, they have avoided population centers when possible. They disable ships rather than destroy them. They take resources but leave life systems intact. These are not the actions of mindless destroyers. They are efficient conquerors, snapped the Therian ambassador. They preserve what they can use. Or, Chen continued, they are something else entirely. Something that requires a different approach than overwhelming force. The Aquarian representative, a flowing creature of living water, rippled with curiosity. What do you propose, Admiral? We propose to ask them what they want. The hall fell silent again, but this time the silence was different. It was the silence of minds grappling with an unexpected concept. The Botanical Collective's spokesperson, a sentient tree-like being, rustled their leaves thoughtfully. You wish to communicate with them. We wish to understand them, Chen replied. The UES Horizon is not a battleship. It is a diplomatic vessel equipped with the most advanced communication array humanity has ever built. Our crew includes linguists, xenobiologists, cultural anthropologists, and peace negotiators. Commander Zixtal's form flickered with confusion. You would risk everything on conversation. We would risk everything on wisdom, Chen answered. If the Titan swarm can be reasoned with, war becomes unnecessary. If they cannot, then our sacrifice of one ship will not significantly impact your assembled forces. The Draconic Confederation's representative coiled lower, his golden eyes narrowing. And if you are wrong, if they destroy your ship and continue their advance, Admiral Chen's expression softened slightly, showing the first hint of emotion. Then 300 humans will have died trying to save billions. That is a trade we are willing to make. The statement hung in the air like a challenge. Slowly, the hostility in the hall began to transform into something else. Not agreement, necessarily, but a grudging respect for the human's conviction. The ethereal collective's shimmering form pulsed with thoughtful energy. It is, an interesting approach. Unconventional, but not without precedent in human history. Your species has always been unpredictable, admitted the hive mind's collective voice, sometimes foolishly so, but sometimes brilliantly so. Commander Zixtal's crystalline body shifted through several colors before settling on a neutral blue. Very well, the Federation will proceed with conventional military preparations. Humanity will pursue their diplomatic approach. If successful, we celebrate. If not, we fight. Admiral Chen nodded. The UES Horizon departs in 6 hours. We will transmit all findings to the Federation fleet. If we fail to make contact within 72 hours, we recommend you implement your military solution. As the session concluded and representatives began filing out, many casting curious glances at the human delegation, Ambassador Krelvo approached Chen's platform. Admiral, he said quietly, I hope you understand what you are risking. Not just your ship, but the respect humanity has earned in this Federation. Chen looked at him steadily. Ambassador, we are risking something far more important than respect. We are risking the chance to do the right thing. As the massive hall emptied, Chen remained standing at her platform, looking out at the stars visible through the crystal walls. Somewhere out there, the Titan swarm continued its advance toward the heart of the galaxy. In a few hours, the UES Horizon would depart to meet them. The question that terrified the galaxy was not whether humanity had sent enough ships. The question was whether humanity had sent the right ship.